So, we will discuss one question, energy eigenvalue, eigenfunction psi and the probability density psi square of a particle in the ground state and the first two excited state in an infinite potential well of width A. So, what we know, in the ground state n is equal to 1, in the first excited state n is equal to 2 and the second excited state n is equal to 3, and we define the ground state by one node and two antinodes, first excited state by two nodes and three antinodes, and the second excited state by three nodes and four antinodes. So, accordingly, we have to find the energy eigenvalue, that is E. N defines the energy state and we know this equation, it is n square h square by 8ma square, where A is width of the well, m is mass of the particle, h is Planck's constant. The energy eigenfunction, we have already solved the normalized eigenfunction, that is equal to root 2 by a sine of n pi by a into x, and the probability density psi square, it will be equal to 2 by a sine square n pi, sine square n pi by a into x, or we can say it is sine n pi by a into x whole square. So, now we will solve this equation for, means we will find out the value of the energy eigenvalue, eigenfunction and psi square, the probability density of a particle in n is equal to 1, 2 and the third state, means the ground state, first excited state and the second excited state. So, for n is equal to 1 ground state, the value of energy E1, it will be equal to 1 square h square by 8ma square, which we can write it as h square by 8ma square, and that it is E naught. I have already explained E, n is equal to 1 state is represented by 0 point energy as well. So, h square by 8ma square is equal to E naught. We can write any energy state value using the equation E n is equal to n square E naught. Now, in the ground state, psi n is equal to 1. So, psi 1, it will be equal to root 2 by a sine of pi by a into x, and psi square, psi 1 square, it will be equal to, square the value, 2 by a sine of n, sine of pi by a into x whole square. So, in the ground state, for n is equal to 1, E1 is equal to n square is 1 square h square by 8m square, and that is equal to h square by 8m square, which we are representing it by E naught. So, in general we can write En is equal to n square E naught. Now, psi 1, it will be equal to root 2 by a sine of n pi by a, n is 1, so pi by a into x, and psi 1 square is equal to 2 by a sine of pi by a into x whole square. Now, as the ground state has one node and two empty node, we will define the location. It will be 0 if we take the width x is equal to 0 and x is equal to a, the width of the well is a. Now, the other location, it will be equal to a by 2, x will be equal to a by 2, as it has one node and two empty nodes. Now, let us solve a by 2 and a. So, theta, if you put 0, x value 0, it will be equal to 0. If you substitute a by 2, x is equal to pi by a x a by 2, it will be equal to pi by 2. A cancels out and it will be equal to pi by 2. And for a, pi by a into a, that will be equal to a. Pi by a into a, x value is a, so that is a cancels out, and what will be the theta? So, as ground state we are defining it by x is equal to 0, a by 2 and x is equal to a. Now, let us solve for psi 1. Sine of 0, it is 0, so the whole value of psi, it will be equal to 0. And psi square, psi 1 square of value, it will be equal to 0. If you substitute x is equal to a by 2, you get sine of pi by 2. So, sine pi by 2, we know it is equal to 1. 1 into root 2a, it will be square root of 2 by a and psi 1 square will take value 2 by a. And what we know, sine of pi, if you substitute here x is equal to a, so sine of pi by a into a, that will be equal to sine pi, and sine pi is equal to 0. So, we get at this location the amplitude of the wave or the psi value, it is 0. So, the psi 1 square. So, if we draw it at the two locations, x is equal to 0 and x is equal to a, psi is equal to 0, and at a by 2 psi takes psi and psi 1 square also take the maximum value. So, we can So we get at a by 2 the amplitude is maximum, and other two location x is equal to 0 and x is equal to a, as we said it has one node and two NT nodes, that is what we are able to match with the value. Now we will go for n is equal to 2 state. We will solve these equations for n is equal to second state, that is energy eigenvalue, energy eigenfunction and the probability density. Now in the first excited state, what we know, n is equal to 2. First excited state represent second energy level. So E2 will be equal to n square E naught, means 2 square E naught, that is equal to 4 E naught. The energy in first excited state is 4 E naught, and E naught is h square by 8 ma square. So if we know the mass of the particle, that is m, and width of the well, we can calculate the energy value. Psi 2 it will be equal to root 2 by a sine of 2 pi by a into x, and psi 2 square will be equal to 2 by a sine of 2 pi by a into x, and it is written here in this equation. Now we will find out the values at for the first excited state at 0, a by 4, a by 2, 3a by 4 and a. So when we substitute x is equal to 0, the angle theta value will be equal to 0. 2 pi by a into a by 4 will get pi by 2. 2 pi by a into a by 2, we are substituting x value, we get pi. 3 a by 4 into 2 pi by a into 3a by 4, you will get 3 pi by 2, and a if you substitute 2 pi by a into a, that is equal to 2 pi. So now if we take sine 0, the whole value it will be 0. If we take sine pi by 2, 2 pi by a into a by 4 is sine pi by 2. So the psi value is root 2 by a, means amplitude will be maximum at a by 4, and probability density it will be equal to 2 by a. Sin pi it is 0. So the two values psi 2 and psi 2 square will be 0. If you substitute 3a by 4, you will get 3 pi by 2, means sin pi by 2 value in the third quadrant. So sin value in the third quadrant is negative, so you will get it minus root 2 by a, and it is a whole square, so here the value will be 2 by a, and sin pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, we know what it is 0. So psi 2 and psi 2 square both it will be equal to 0. Now if we draw, first we will draw for psi 2. So at x is equal to 0, psi is 0. At a by 4 it is maximum root 2 by a. We are plotting psi and psi square both y axis. At a by 2 again it is 0. This comes to the third quadrant and again it is 0. Join it. So at a by 4 and 3a by 4, the amplitude is maximum. It is equal to root 2a. Now let us plot for psi2 square. It is positive, so we can draw this way. This line is just a representation. We are not representing the value totally root 2 by a or 2 by a. So dash represents probability density, dash lines, and this straight line means it represents the eigen function. Now let us solve for second excited state, and hopefully you have learned how to do it. So you solve it and verify the answer with me. So for the second excited state, n is equal to 3, E3 it will be 9 E naught, psi 3 it is equal to square root of 2 by a, sine of n pi by a, n is equal to 3, so 3 pi by a into x, and psi 3 square is equal to 2 by a sine of 3 pi by a into x whole square. Now accordingly we will solve the location as per that 3 pi by a into x value. The locations are 0, a by 6, a by 3, a by 2, 2a by 3, 5a by 6 and a, and accordingly the theta 3 pi by a into x value is 0, a by 2, pi, 3 pi by 2, 2 pi, 5 pi by 2 and 3 pi. So sin 0 is 0, sin pi by 2 it will be equal to root 2 by a, sin of pi 0, sin of 3 pi by 2 minus square root of 2 by a, sin of 2 pi 0, sin of 5 pi by 2 means first quadrant itself, it is root 2 by a, and sin of 3 pi it will be equal to 0. Accordingly psi 3 square it will be equal to 0, 2 by a, 0, 2 by a, 0, 2 by a and 0. So here I have drawn a combined figure for the ground state, first excited state and the second excited state, means ground energy level, first energy level, second energy level and the third energy level. Ground state, first excited state and the second excited state. So already I have explained these two figures. At the end of the well, means at x is equal to 0 and x is equal to a, your psi and psi square, psi 1 square and psi both it is equal to 0, and at a by 2 it is maximum, that is equal to root 2 by a and 2 by a for psi n square, psi 1 square respectively. Now, for the first excited state 0, a by 4, a by 2, 3a by 4 and a, we saw that at a by 4 and 3a by 4, the amplitude means the probability of finding the particle is maximum. And for the second excited state, that is n is equal to 3, we have to solve for 0, a by 6, a by 3, a by 2, 2a by 3, 5a by 6 and a psi 3 square, psi 3 square and psi 3 value. So, we have psi 3 as 0, root 2 by a, 0, minus root 2 by a, 0, root 2 by a and 0. So, at a by 6, a by 2 and 5a by 6, the probability is maximum, and at 0, a by 3, 2a by 3 and a, the probability is 0. So, we get as usual what I have explained previously, nodes, 3 nodes and 1, 2, 3, 4 NT nodes. So, at NT nodes psi value it is 0 or psi square value is 0 for any state, either it is n is equal to 1, 2 or 3. Mean at the wall the probability of the finding the particle, it is equal to 0. Thank you. By this we have completed the theory portion of quantum mechanics.